I think there was a lot of questions like that we saw come up in the direction of, what's the market positioning of Synternet now? What are you doing? Where are you going? What are you heading? What's going to be the next 12 months? What's the next 2 to 3 years, right? So like we got an awful lot of questions from the community, which is great. And I think it's a very valid question, right? You see right now just this massive influx of stuff coming and, and a lot of investment in AI. I think Bill Norton said, it's actually exceeding total consumer spending. And so it's obviously a very interesting place to be. So the question is, how do you differentiate right now against the other AI that's out there? And how do you differentiate and how do you not get eviscerated by, the next step of an LLM? We saw Nano Banana come out and we saw, like literally hundreds of small startups just get destroyed by that one release of an LLM. So first, let's look at how we plan, to stay ahead of that curve. We use an open backend, and that model makes us a lot stronger, right? So every time some new model comes out, we can actually tap into that new reasoning capability and the new capabilities of those models, right? So we ride on top of that, right? One of those places that we have is the other moat that we that we can create between us and the rest of crypto is really if your AI doesn't have access to certain data points or it doesn't have access to certain feeds, well, then it can't reason with those feeds, and then it can't do anything, give those feeds as generative responses either, right? So what we have at Synternet is a distributed, decentralized protocol that allows you to orchestrate data for AI permissionlessly. So in other words, data layer. And this permissionless data layer that Synternet is built on and that our agents are built on, that allows you to add proprietary reasoning sets that other people don't have access. And this is really the biggest moat. So no matter how advanced, those other LLMs get, we'll be riding on top of that, and we'll always have this plus crypto aspect, right? And that's definitely where we're positioning ourselves. You will always have access to things that other people don't have in a permissionless, unfiltered, and focused on digital assets at Synternet. The next mode is adoption. We have turned on the tickers. We're starting to track adoptions in the users on Telegram. We'll get into that in a bit. And we are working on getting, the agents into the field and the agent adoption. Distribution is everything in AI. And it's something that we're acutely, promoting in order to get more adoption and understanding how, that works as well. And then finally, the ultimate, kind of, moat as well in AI is trust, right? People don't really want to have an AI that's clearly filtered by corporate interest or individuals, or has a certain right-leaning, left-leaning sentiment, right? They want the things that they want to do to be unobstructed and unfiltered if it's giving them advice. And that's where Synternet's permissionless data orchestration layer comes in, right? Which is fully into the AI agent. So I hope I kind of tried to answer some of the questions, right? It is an extremely fast moving field. Product market fit is everything. Marketing doesn't help you in AI. And in that space, Synternet has some clear, distinct moats against the competition.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's going to be a huge differentiator personally when we start to see, our agents in the background, and we don't have Philippe here. And, on the last community AMA that we did, we went into a lot of detail about how we're building out like very kind of niche data sets around the protocols that we work with. So that is happening in the background slowly but surely. And that, that's something that over the coming weeks and months you will start to see that, and we're really excited about that because that's the big differentiator between your average LLM or AI solution and what we're building. There's been some really amazing questions from the community here, and some kind of go into a particular area of interest for me, which is very much about like how the product is going to be evolving long term, with some of the kind of bigger pieces of our grand vision around things like the AI agent studio, how people will be able to contribute to this ecosystem of AI agents, how we're going to be kind of bringing in other AI agents onto the platform, and kind of long-term vision, and how we're kind of building out this kind of B2B infrastructure and so forth. Obviously I've got a lot that to say on some of these areas as well. I'm super excited to see some of this play out. But I know Paulius also obviously is the man behind building some of this stuff in the background. Paulius, keen to hear your take on kind of some of these like big things. Obviously, it's important for the community to understand that these are things that are, long-term vision and goal that we are building and take extremely delicate things to build. But Paulius, keen to hear your take on some of this stuff.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to see so many joined. Um, the way I see it right now, we've been building a lot of stuff for the developers, right? And our strength was also in our user base, right? So whenever we build for something that can be used by retail users, like we did with historically with our token center or our bridge or whatever, we see people interacting, right? So what we want to do is we're not doing any shift from developers, but we absolutely want to build a tool, and we want to make sure that we're building actual products for retail users to interact. And we've done that, right, with Syntoshi, with Avatoshi, right? These are our agents, right? We're alpha agents. We were showcasing the ability of them to be in groups. We were showcasing the ability for them to be talking directly. The one thing we haven't been showcasing is like, how do they work really under the hood, right? So what has been mentioned right previously multiple times, it's not an LLM wrapper, right? So it's not like you have a wrapper that you give a character to and you just respond to it. So the way those agents work is they are utilizing the data in our protocol to understand which specific, like, and there is ability to add new data to our protocol. So we have multiple players. So if you are a data provider, you can provide data, and then that data can be utilized by our agents, right? So we have a system where new players can come in and onboard their data for our agents to consume, meaning that most LLMs, they have a cutoff knowledge date, meaning that whenever they were trained, that was the part where their knowledge is off, right? So if you were to ask a Bitcoin price or whatever, they would say, yeah, the Bitcoin price at 2024, September 24, or whatever, it was that, right? So we have built an ability to make sure that the agents know which data is necessary and needed, and also the ability to onboard more of that data into our protocol, meaning that the number of questions you can ask is ever growing. So, like, what does that mean, right? What does that mean for the agent studio, right? Or the protocol level? How do we get this? What does it mean also for developers? So there's few places where it works in terms of ecosystem. So first, right, if you have data, you can come into our protocol, you can onboard that data, and we've made it so that we're not only accepting streams of data, now we're also accepting RPC calls, and also we're accepting the message data. So what happens is now we have a protocol where people can come in and onboard new sets, and our AI can now understand those new sets of data. So this is like two places where ecosystem is working, because you are not have ability to pay for both the interaction with the agents. We are working with an ideas on how to make ability to create your own agents with specific sets of knowledge bases and data, which data can be used, and also as a developer you can come in and provide new knowledge for those specific AIs, right? So this and as kind of mentioned at the beginning, right, what is really important is the user experience, right? So we're building for retail. We have to kind of come in and we have to kind of chat with those agents and kind of see how the data is not only being generated, to understand what's the reasoning behind it, to also understand how is it being processed, to kind of also showcase the why is it smarter, right? So that's the reasoning, and I think we've had some showcases of the not only working on the Telegram, working on an actual UI, which will encompass more and more of those features. So this is kind of where we're heading short term.
Awesome stuff. Look, and I for one, to kind of add my piece, in terms of B2B side of things, we've got huge amounts of stuff happening in the background. Obviously Philippe, our head of BD, and his entire team working underneath him are working tirelessly to build out super strong relationships with various projects. And both Daniel and Philippe are going to be heading over to Token2049 in the next couple of weeks, and we have awesome stuff lined up there. You guys may have seen that we have an event agent functionality that allows people in the crypto space to be able to easily navigate to various different events that are happening in the overarching event. It can I don't know how many of you in the audience have ever been to crypto events, but it can be extremely challenging to find the best opportunities to jump to side events and things like that. And Syntoshi is going to be getting used by hardcore Web3 evangelists, and we're really excited to see the impact of that. We've already got large amounts of guerrilla marketing in the background happening. Some really interesting stuff that's going to be announced next week in terms of some competitions that we're going to be doing for the use of Syntoshi at Token2049. So on the B2B side, there's a huge amount of interest for people to potentially have some kind of role to play in the long-term vision of where the data marketplace and the agent marketplace that we are working towards long-term. So it's a super exciting space. There's so much amazing development happening in the kind of crypto meet AI space that we're really excited about. In terms of other kind of questions as well. So, there's obviously a lot of questions around driving demand for the Synt token, and about how we are going to use like income to drive demand for Synt. And obviously we definitely see that as more and more users come to utilize the various different ways to use our AI agents, that is obviously going to create a lot more demand for Synt, because obviously with every interaction with Synternet, that is going to feed the demand for Synt. And we're seeing that with Avatoshi, with Syntoshi, and with the upcoming web UI version of the product. Daniel, do you have any other additions to kind of that point in question?
Yeah, let's go back to the mantra that everything we do at Synternet is to optimize token holder value. Everything, right? So right now, I get messages on Telegram and saying, "Hey, my wallet's not connecting. And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. Why? What are you having trouble with?" And a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was I'm having trouble with staking or validate, or staking my tokens. Now it's hey, I'm having I'm trying to get credits for the agents, and that's like fantastic. So for those of you who haven't noticed, we have the agents all have paywall. Every time you use an agent on Telegram, you have a freemium model. You get to ask a few questions, and then you eventually get brought to a credit page. Avatoshi is the same model. And again, speaking, like working on Telegram is like trying to sing an opera and eat soup at the same time, because it's a medium, right? It is the agents have to respond and be responded to in a very certain way. You look at it on your phone, it has a small surface that you can look at, and if you blink and somebody else asks a question, you might miss the entire response that the agent does, right? So it's suboptimal in a lot of ways, but it is where crypto hangs out, and it is kind of highly used at events and like Token49, where we have 70,000 people participating in probably the biggest crypto event worldwide, and that's coming up in a month or two, right? So these are possibilities for us to get the agentic framework in the hands of extremely high quality, high density user populations that all have crypto wallets and that understand what they're looking at. So for us, it's really kind of making sure that we get the exposure in the target market. And again, every time somebody interacts with any of the agents or any of the agentic framework, they have to pay Synts. And so that's wonderful. And with every cent that goes, it goes straight to Treasury. Right now, in Treasury, we'll use those for different things. We don't have a strategy immediately around buybacks and burns, right? But technically, those cents will go to cover operations. We will move into buyback and burn, imminently. So that's kind of to go there. I know there's a lot of also questions around changing regulations, the token availability, and what to do next, right? And we see this, right? We see that sex trading in globally is starting to diminish. Centralized exchanges in Europe are now faced with MiCA requirements. USDT is not a MiCA approved cryptocurrency or stablecoin, and therefore most of the centralized exchanges that are available have sort of made it more difficult to trade in USDT and to hold USDT. And our trading pairs on most of the centralized exchanges are USDT and not USDC, right? So we are seeing a tightening of restrictions. We're also seeing a movement to DEXs, right? And people kind of are in the impression that, well, that's easy enough. As long as you're available on the DEXs, you won't be on the SEX. People can still get at you. But you have to kind of see this as that's a different crowd of crypto people. You've got people that are centralized users, you've got people that are decentralized user, and it's not a one-to-one Venn sort of diagram. And so managing crypto demand is a constantly changing feast. We have to continue to roll with it. One of our interests right now lies with how the U.S. trades and how the U.S. markets trades, and we're going to be making steps to move in that direction, to have exposure to the U.S. markets, and I think that's fantastic. And again, it's also then increasing our exposure and liquidity that's available on different chains, on the right chain, where the attention is, and where we get used, right? But ultimately, we continue to stay a Cosmos chain, and we are completely capable of taking the same technology that we use to get from Ethereum to Cosmos, which has been working flawlessly, to also get us to other EVM chains. So this is going to be, coming in the very near future, right? This is next 30 to 60 days type stuff, and you look for really cool announcements that will allow us not only to get exposure on decentralized exchanges to the US ecosystems, but also to some of the biggest chains in agents on crypto and agents in AI altogether. So we're constantly working to make that better. And we are also constantly working to make it more frictionless to interact with any of the AI, our user interfaces, or anything else. So by doing that, by dropping in credit card integration and other things, we try to take out as much of the, hey, I need to be a crypto degen to use this AI. Hey, I need to be crypto. I need to have a wallet. We're trying to make that all go away. Every time we do, it's a huge step forward. And you should see some stuff coming out, hopefully even before the end of September, but definitely during the month of October.
Exciting stuff. I'm just going to kind of go on as quick sideline here again, just to reiterate about, Daniel and Philippe going to Token2049. Obviously, networking is hugely important, and I think the word networking kind of vastly underestimates just the kind of sheer scope of what we're doing. We're certainly going to be looking for speaking opportunities. Daniel, we've obviously got a huge network across various different areas, and Daniel's kind of big focus there is definitely going to be on the investor side. We've got a lot of existing investors that we're going to be meeting up with, and prospective investors as well. So this is hugely important. And then on Philippe's side, Philippe is obviously going to be meeting with both with existing partners and new partners, which sits within the kind of networking thing. But for the kind of project that we are and what we're kind of becoming, this is hugely important, and just calling it networking is actually kind of doing it a bit of an injustice in many respects. So this is hugely important, and we're also simultaneously going to be coordinating a really awesome social campaign with competitions and fun and excitement, with the hopes of gaining some like viral recognition at this event through the use of our event agent. And this is where you guys as the community are going to be super useful and handy in helping us to amplify the messaging, helping to interact and have some fun with this. Token2049 and events like this are usually great positive opportunities for the market to move in the right direction and for people to see who's building out there, and we definitely want to be all over that. So I think just calling it networking is very much underplaying how our kind of way that we're looking internally at our attendance for Token 2049. And
and maybe I mean, I hate to jump in, it's because maybe we just kind of say that like for everybody who's on this community who has not tried the Syntoshi's ability to kind of help you guide through Token 49 and now also Korean Blockchain Week, you must try it, right? Go to Telegram, speak with the Syntoshi, ask him about side events, and he will find you. He's aware of everything that's going on. He knows how to get there. He sends you the update, the calendar invite. He knows all the main speakers on the main stage. We just added the Korean Blockchain Week, and it was a lot of fun today to kind of send to some of the people I know that are in Korea. In crypto, and kind of share with them, and say, hey, answer everything in Korean. And they were floored, right? Like, not only did the agent know sort of exactly like what the best events were, but it also kind of spoke fluent Korean. So it is quite amazing. We are trying to get a lot of attention to it. So if you haven't used it, use it. It's great if you're going to Korean Blockchain Week, or Token 49 in Singapore. Use the agent, and you'll find it's really it provides an extremely great utility at the event, before the event, and after the event to maximize your efficiency at such things, right? Because a lot of times you just spend around getting bumped around and elbowed from room to room without really kind of gaining anything, right? With this agent, you can find out exactly who the people that you want to talk to are at on the chain they're at, which events are that have the people at them that you want to be discussing with, and the likelihood of you sort of making meaningful contacts at these events goes crazy up if you use the agent consistently.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is
Also,
something that
I'll jump in, right?
Go ahead, Carlos.
Just showcase, what's to come, right? It's just one functionality of Syntoshi, right? We have a ability of it. So Syntoshi has the agent router, and then when you ask question, it knows which data to fetch from our protocol. And then when you're asking about events, it's just something that we filled, and so it's kind of also a showcase of what the agent is going to be more and more capable of. So have a go at it.
No, 100%. And yet we have already we have definitely already announced this from the Syntoshi account, but we will be leaking more next week with regards to the structure of what we have in mind here. But it is going to be really great fun. We're really hyped and excited about it, especially with the current moves in the market. And as per like what Yilmaz Moon was mentioning, this is very much kind of leaning into this, like how we are hoping to capture mindshare as liquidity rolls into the market. Obviously, we're all hoping for rate cuts. It does seem like it's very much happening, and I think we're really building it as a project very much in the right space to capture the maximum amount of eyes, and across all of the different areas where we're working in, we really feel that this is going to be what will help capture mindshare and eyes and attention. If we look at the AI agent, crypto meets AI landscape, how many people have a fully functioning product that allows you, like a Perplexity-esque or ChatGPT interface, go online and have it have very in-depth understanding of niche DeFi platforms? They just do not have that. But this is something that we are going to have that no one else has at the moment. That is going to be the moat. And I know that some people have asked about, the moats that we're going to have in place. I think Daniel has already spoken about this, but this is very much kind of what we're working on in the background, things that are going to differentiate us from the crowd, things that are going to magnetically draw liquidity towards us. And we're building in arguably one of the most exciting spaces in crypto and Web3 right now. And we have a bigger, more experienced team than the vast number of projects out there who are working tirelessly together on building out best-in-class infrastructure. So it's super exciting, and I think that is going to really start shining through. And as the kind of liquidity does start to flow into the space, it's projects that are able to show that they have a real functional high quality product that are going to really stand out. And I think that's where Synternet is really going to shine, because we really differentiate ourselves there by having this experienced tech team that have, you know, got this vastly larger amount of experience. It's not always just about KOLs, and it's also about timing KOLs as well. Like you have to, it's so easy to piss away money on KOLs. I've seen many projects burn through large amounts of their budget spending on KOLs. We definitely will be doing that as and when it makes sense. But it's important to understand just how predatory and low value many KOLs are. So it's important, you know, we've used large amounts of KOLs historically, and unfortunately, that can sometimes lead to short-term price bumps. But, you know, there's so many projects out there that will easily burn through their entire runway by giving out that money to KOLs, and that's not good business. You don't see OpenAI or Anthropic, you know, paying KOLs on Twitter to shill their product. We kind of definitely see ourselves as very much above this kind of behavior, though at the same time, of course, we are going to be getting. And myself and Philippe have got some really high quality thought leaders in the AI space specifically who are lined up to talk about the stuff that we're building. And I know you probably want to start to see like a lot of people shilling the token, but we're waiting to kind of time this for maximum effect. So this stuff, we're very much aware of this stuff, and it could be extremely easy for us to burn through thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Some people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on KOLs. They have a short price bump, and then that's it. That's game over, and they have no product. Right now, our kind of big area of investment internally is very much going into this, you know, dedicated and skilled development team, which is our huge differentiator, and that's where we think we're going to stand out from the crowd long term. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on that one?
No, I think you covered it, right? I mean, I think that, you know, we have, you know, it's an extremely fast moving space. I think if you listen to people, you know, like ex-head of OpenAI, you know, working now with AI16 and others, you listen to them and you hear what sort of investment is looking for in AI. It really does become sort of about these moats. You know, there's a lot of innovation that happens outside of the LLMs. And the LLMs feed on it to make their product better. Well, how can you create something that doesn't just get eviscerated in the next release of ChatGPT or Claude or Sonnet or everything else? And this is something that requires you to have clear differentiating technology that will last. And many of these smaller startups, they have a flash in the pan product, and then a new model comes out, and they're written off. And what we have at Synternet is exactly that. We have, and I think it's probably plays on one of the biggest. I don't know who here saw, you know, the conversations between, you know, Sam Altman and Elon Musk on Twitter around, you know, sort of like them admitting to how much, you know, they do corporate filtering on their AIs for the answers and the responses. And we've all kind of, you know, seen the tweets where you have some of, you know, what Grok does kind of lean into, you know, obviously stronger hands that are guiding him in whatever direction that they feel is right. But you can tell that it has a mindset. And I think that's gonna start to become much more important, right? That level of trust that you start to bond with AIs. is critical, and Synternet offers a permissionless data orchestration layer that'll allow you or anyone to add your own proprietary data sets to the biggest LLM models out there. And I think I can't understate how important that connection is, because we have an open backend. You can use, any LLM that you favor, and then you can also use Synternet to bring in that plus crypto aspect, where you have inside information, KOL information, chartist information, and very soon you're going to be able to do that in a industry standard type of user interface that allows you to have prompt histories and can keep track of your interactions on multi-day periods, all of which we can't do on Telegram, right? So, for those of you, sort of pushing on the revenue buttons, great, like it will come. And right now, that plus crypto space, that's our quest, right? So get the people in, let's get sticky engagement with the UI and an AI that you can trust. And build those relationships that that have people coming back on multi-day interactions with the agents, and that is our North Star. That continues to be our North Star, is to drive usage up over time and to get people to get utility from what the AI is able to do. And we know that the ability to take the best AI out there and then add this plus crypto aspect, that's our separator. That's where we're at, and we can do it better than anybody else.
100%. And yes, I think Digital Academy there has mentioned relating to questions. We are obviously like really expanding into like broad updates that I think do kind of try and answer a lot of the questions that have been put in place, and we have gone through quite a large number. I think one of the questions that has been repeatedly asked, which is super important, which is will the team provide a token release schedule, and if so, when? Daniel, can you shed some light on that one?
Sure, we're working on it. Absolutely, we'll have a clarity. I think we're providing continual updates in that space. We most recently had the governance proposal. The governance turned on. The token proposals turned on. One of the two major proposals that went through was to burn 84 million or 82 million in tokens, which was a significant amount of our circulating supply. A further proposal reduced the inflation paid to validators. Also significantly reducing token circulating supply. We haven't had a complete picture of the full tokenomics, but we do offer quite a bit of transparency on the webpage around where the current circulation is and how much of it sits in treasury and how much of it sits in other things. We also have clear pictures of what inflation looks like over the next things. What we're not disclosing at the moment is just kind of a more detailed insight into investor unlocks and other things, right? At the moment, that's kind of the only sort of critical missing component. There aren't that many investor unlocks left, we just haven't had the attention to focus on those bits, right? At the moment, we're working on making sure that our token pairs are traded on the appropriate exchanges, trying to understand what a move from liquidity would mean from centralized exchanges with market makers to decentralized exchanges on V2 and V3. So and how to appeal and make sure that we're known in those communities, as and that our token story comes across well, right? We feel that is more important to make sure that we get right. Because when should there be an altcoin season, and should it be coming in the fall, it's important that we're in the trading venues that people are trading in. And if we focus right now, with the limited staff that we have, on making token transparency the thing, then other things like making sure that we're have the right kind of liquidity on osmosis, like making sure that we have the right kind of presence in other ecosystems that are trading heavily. They have to simply fall down the priority list, and it's the wrong way around. So we don't want to dodge any questions. We don't want to not provide disclosure, but we're making calls on priorities because we've that feedback to the ultimate mantra of increasing token holder value. And I'm afraid you just have to trust us for a while until we get sufficient capital that will have all the dashboards you could ever ask for. But at the moment, we have to call our shots, and that's right now it's making sure that we're in front of the right dexes and in the right way to continue token trading.
Absolutely. So another kind of super important question that we've had from the community is, which cross-chain primitives does Synternet support today? IBT only, or do you also provide native watchers or oracles for EVM chains, Solana, etc.? Paulius, please.
Yeah, so we currently support IBC. One thing to note is that being in Cosmos ecosystem, some things come to us naturally and kind of for free. We are in talks with Interchain Foundation. They are working with IBC version 2, which will also enable us to be a multi-chain token as well on multiple layer 2s and Solana. So it doesn't make sense to work on a separate bridge or a separate smart contracts and then integrate another bridge. We are working with them on that technology to make sure we integrate them. And when it comes to messages, right, on IBC, there's also a possibility to both with AI and the Synternet protocol to then add data through those different blockchains and cross chains. So we are absolutely utilizing the technology we have as part of our blockchain and working with Interchain Foundation to make sure that we can utilize the newest technology that the actual ecosystem provides for us.
100%. And I mean, there's other ones like questions from the community here relating to things like subscription models. We're definitely thinking about these kinds of things internally. And 100%, it would make sense from, at least from my perspective, to at some point implement some kind of subscription plan. But as before Paulius says, it's super important to try and understand, like, how do we kind of make sure the Web3 payment systems make sense alongside Web2 style payment systems. So this is something that we want to be cautious around executing and moving too fast on, so that we can ensure that value is driven towards token holders.
But let's maybe like unpack that a bit, right? Because I think it's a loaded question, right? Obviously, the beauty of having a subscription model is that you get frustrated with a limited package and you sign up, and then you get a nice discount if you don't just pay monthly, but you pay annually. And then once you have that, that's going to be your UX. Now we understand, how important that is to providing sticky users and getting people engaged and using your model over others. And it's part of the distribution mode that we talked about earlier. At the same time, take a look at what we are and what keeps us different and keeps us alive on top of a very, very, very fast moving field. One of the things that we started off talking about is our open backend, right? Now, anybody who's kind of spent a little bit of time using some of these AI models knows that you can ask some questions that take 15 minutes to answer and you're happy to wait. Other questions you'd want to sort of answer super quickly because you're just trying to figure out what time is it in Singapore right now. And it's critical that and Paulie has mentioned this, and it's actually one of the most fascinating pieces of technology that we have at the moment. It's what we call the agent router, and I am in love with this piece of kit. It is really cool because what it does is it's actually a product in itself, because it is the path that the AI is taking to give you the generative response. And that passes through our proprietary sub-agents, as well as it does through what is the best model or other agents that can help you get to that answer. And understanding how that path works is super powerful, right? So now, if for example, that path had to go to an expensive model, then that results in a different price. And sometimes just for saying GM, you don't need it to go to Grok heavy. Same time, what you're trying to do is optimize, how do I get the best responses from private databases and, the reasoning power and capabilities of public information plus LLMs. And that really is, the most powerful digital asset AI that you can have, because it combines those two. And the magic is done by the agent router. So we're not going to disclose anything. I was fighting with the guys to try to get them to show a little bit of what happens inside that box. But we will next week, and hopefully, Jonas, who's stepping in full time with keeping his head on product right now, to kind of help us navigate and build those moats better than anybody else. Hopefully he'll be the one to show you now. I'm going to be pushing for everybody to see it from next week. But this is important. Now, the thing is that if you have a one price fix all, kind of subscription model, how does that work with an open backend that can go from super cheap models, or canned answers to GMGM, to deep insight using proprietary data analytics and potentially even multiple agents to come up with, complex and financially relevant outputs, that might cost significantly more. It's not a one size all fits model. And that's why we're proceeding with caution. It's not because we don't understand that subscription models are the way that we want to end up at. It's because some of the things that we have that make us moats, that give us moats in other areas, part of why we're different and why we're better, is actually, sort of added some complexity to getting to a simple subscription model. So, and I think it's worth understanding that, because what it shows is that, our understanding and what Synternet is and its advantages in AI is a very deep understanding, and what's making us great is some of the things that make other things harder, and therefore it takes a little bit longer to sort of get into a place where, like, why can't I just pay $200 a month, or to get Synternet access, and that's the answer, right? Because we have models that cost way more than that you can use and have access to get really good stuff, but we need to make sure that it's dynamically priced based on what the agent router exports, and at the moment we're not that far along yet.
Yeah, I want to add maybe a bit on that. I see there was a similar question, right, into that at least category by Yilmaz Moon, right? What would be the big reason for people to use the protocol? What's the biggest reason why should I, right? And then we kind of answered that, but I think I can do it a bit better, right? That question still asked. So, what currently people who can use our protocol are developers, right? And what we want people to use are retail users like yourself, right? So whenever a developer comes, he should use our protocol to enhance the AI that we are building. So we're not data play, right? We are an AI play, because what we have also is ability for people and developers to come in and extend the knowledge base and the centralized knowledge base based on our protocol. And then we also have an AI who understands all the different aspects and all the different publishers and all the different people who can come into our protocol and, give the protocol ability to just understand some specific data. So we provide, what's the biggest reason why should you use, like, you should use the AI that's enhanced by the protocol, and it's only going to get smarter. That's what we're kind of going for. And then what to kind of reiterate, right, with all the UIs and with all the ability to buy credits with multiple tokens, it's all to embrace the user experience for not necessarily developers. And for developers, we are aiming to be a place for you to earn, because whenever agent is using the knowledge base and APIs or streams that you are providing, right, it is utilizing Synt in the background. And that's what we're aiming for, what we're hoping, and then what we're hoping to be able to show you, like, really, really soon.
Awesome. So another question that we've received from the community has been, what has been the biggest challenge thus far in terms of business development front and similar protocol adoption, and how has the team been overcoming that? And from my understanding, Paulius is going to have a crack at that one.
Yeah, so I think I kind of mentioned, right, that what we want to be is we want to be used, right? And then when it comes to being used, we want to be used by retail, so it's not necessarily only developers. So we're building, the tools that are actually can be used, and that's why we're kind of talking about, creating this user experience. And this is some place where we're good, right? We've the tools that we've built for community have always been utilized and used, and like the existing community have always participated in both, bridging, staking, and everything like that. So we know, and the tool where you can actually interact and to see what the protocol, the tool that utilizes the underlying protocol will be used, you're going to be impressed. Maybe it was a bit more than one question, right? So can you kind of say if I answered it, or is there like
It's a business development question as well, right? I think that, like business development right now in AI usage is it's a very, very, very fast moving space, and it works differently from SaaS. Capabilities. Marketing doesn't help, and it's really all about usage. It's providing utility in the products that you have, and then creating sticky, reoccurring engagement. That leads to adoption. And that's what we're driving. The only thing I'd add to what Paulius says is that the technology that the team has built also understands every single interaction, and we not only like monitor those for quality of like the agent answering their purpose, right? Like, so this agent is supposed to help you find stuff at side events in Token2049 Singapore. How's he doing? Are the people's engagement with the agent positive? Does the agent help them? How often do they say thank you? These are indications from the that we get around the sentiment of working with the agent, right? Does the agent lead to more agent interaction? Does he leave you follow-ons that get you coming back? Does he refer to other things that we can do so that you have an idea of where he is? Or does he just answer the question like shouting out bus times, and he doesn't help you into the next step? So like, because we have full insight into the deliberation project or product that the agent goes through to answer the questions, and then see the dialogue of the multi-use and recurring engagement, we are also then feeding that back into more AI to get better at creating more stickier engagement, right? So the better the agents get at responding, the more adoption we have, the more we use. Now that's all focus that you don't really see behind the scenes, because it just ends up being a better engagement, and it leads to more adoption. And we do follow on the quantitative, but then also, just like I showed it, like on the qualitative level of the interaction that we have with the agent. We know that this learning is also pulling us away. This is perpetuating that our users are also our data. That data is a moat that continues to grow and grow. The more adoption we have, the more we know what the Avalanche ecosystem users are looking for, the better we are at getting at serving them. And there is no other AI available in that ecosystem like we are. So we are building a moat that is going to be not just difficult to catch up through, but at some point it'll be sort of fruitless to begin to sort of challenge us as we start to bring in, sort of get to the highest user adoptions ecosystem by ecosystem. And I think that kind of probably also touches on at least a couple of the other things as far as positioning. How are you different? Where are you going? Where are you heading? And how are you going to make sure this product continues to be one that people turn to? Alexi, you're on mute in case you...
Hey guys, sorry about that. Next question. Sorry, my apologies. I had to sort it out. Sorry. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Okay, I'll step in maybe. Let's somebody asked about partnerships. For
Sorry
those
about that.
that aren't aware, we have a pretty strong partnership with the AVAX ecosystem. We're working not just with Avalabs, from over almost a year now, coming up on November, but we're also working with all of the major projects in their sub ecosystem, including Benki, GoGoPool, GMX, Trader Joe, and all the others. We're working with them individually. We're working with them with their communities. We're working with their ecosystem communities individually. And we're going to be appearing in Token49 on stage with a few of them, and in different places. We said we were going to focus on Avalanche, make sure that Avatoshi, is the used agent before we started focusing on some of the other ecosystem participants there. And now we're going to be moving into a space where we have the bandwidth to also start to work with some of the other ecosystems that have put their hand up and said they'd also like an agent similar to Avatoshi. So you should see some of those things coming through in the fall. Super excited. Each of these ecosystem represents tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of users that we have a chance to get to engage with our ecosystem. And anybody who's used Avatoshi, you'll see the paywall. After a few free questions, you'll be taken straight back to buy Synt, so that you can feed the agent. You can continue to get the insights that you started to depend on.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Daniel. Yeah, so I mean, we've obviously gone through a huge number of questions so far. We have a huge amount in the pipeline. So, in terms of that, there's a lot of excitement about what we're building. There's a huge amount of excitement internally around the AI Agent Studio that we're still working towards as a long-term goal. And yeah, look, we need to figure out how can we all get Synternet polo shirts. I know that I want one. I was recently I can't be repping Web3 gaming hoodies anymore. I need a Synternet polo shirt as well. We all need to be rocking the Synternet polo shirts. So I hope this has been super
That's a
valuable.
serious question. DM me. They're not cheap. This company it's a Swiss company, and they make cross-country skiing gear. A friend of mine runs it. I get a really nice discount, but they're like $80 a pop. So if you show me proof of purchase, $80 of Synternet tokens, I will make sure that you end up with one of these, especially if you meet me at Token49 in Singapore. I'll have it for you when I'm there.
See, this is going to be a major source of token burn. It is these super high quality shirts. So that is enough. How many Web3 projects have AI inferences and shirts as a form of a token sync? So you heard it here first, guys. Lots of super exciting stuff in the pipeline. So yeah, look, I hope that's been super valuable for a lot of people. We have tried our best to go through like a large array of questions. I know that this is stuff that's important. We, as mentioned so many times, we are probably one of the most hardworking projects in the space across various different areas, including the dev team, all working tirelessly to ship real, valuable products, not vaporware nonsense like the vast majority of projects out there even in the crypto and even in the AI space. We are trying to build real stuff. On the BD and partnership side, I know that Philippe and his team, alongside myself as well, we are kind of pushing very much in that regard for high quality partnerships to awesome projects. And I know that Daniel, of course, is working tirelessly towards investors and high level pushing out of the strategy and working towards the overarching vision that we're working towards. And I saw some funny questions there in the audience that we can tap into, questions around things like alt season, whether it's going to be alt season. Who knows? I wish we knew when that was. Obviously, there is some positive news around rates being cut. Will this result in an alt season? We just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I wish I knew the answer to that question. But we're 100% working on growing value, and we have a really big vision for the future, being a super important layer that sits in this awesome intersection of crypto meets AI. So thanks everyone for coming. Please make sure to continue to be supportive in the Twitter and Telegram. We are working super hard to build something awesome for you guys as well. And Daniel, thanks for coming. Palias, thanks for being here, and Kasparas, thanks for organizing this. Do you guys have any final thoughts, Daniel, Palias?
Let's make those more often. It seems like fun.
It seems like fun. It is fun. No, it's awesome. And look, I mean, I think thank you very much for our community for being here, right? And thank you for everything that everybody's contributed, right? In the past few years, right? It's community and distribution make the product, and please use the agents, right? And look out for our more powerful user interface. One of the beauties is that you can use this to access almost any type of AI actually out there, right? So you could use our user interface, to as your main kind of conduit to whatever AI you're using, and you have kind of the best of both worlds. You have the best of the bigger sort of AI out there, and you'll have sort of the plus crypto aspects that we'll be bringing in. So watch as that user interface comes live soon, and then watch as we sort of steadily pull away with some of the things that we're building into it, which will give you the ability to do stuff that you can't do with other AIs. So fantastic! Thanks a lot for joining, everybody, and happy Friday.
Awesome, guys. Thanks again, everyone, and I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for hosting, Alexei. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.